Greetings from YouTubeville. Once again, boom, Danny Savage, Draft Guru. Like, sub, and subscribe. It don't cost a dime. It's an off week. Still the best beard on YouTube. Ah, today we're just going to be doing a video about, once again, I was right. Charge, long story short, there was an offensive tackle in Notre Dame, Joe Alt, 6'8", 320. His dad played like 13 years at left tackle for the Chiefs, ironically. Everyone was like, last year, preseason, last year, during college season, everybody's like, he's too tall. His hips are too stiff. He ain't got it in him. He was either like, I think he started out in high school, quarterback, tight end, and then he grew into a tackle. So when you look at that, bro, that's an athlete right there. And you'd be shocked how many dudes had him maybe ranked in the top 5, top 6, 7. They were saying he's just not athletic enough. Can't sink his hips. He's too big. All these so-called dudes that say, can't have two big linemen. I don't know if we spoke about the beard. I don't know. I think we did. So, long story short, and everyone was blowing up Olu Fashionable last year from Penn State, who I would just watch this kid. He got destroyed by Ohio State 2 years in a row. Decent pass blocker. He couldn't run block to save his life. And there was some, I just couldn't put my finger on it. Long story short, after the combine, it came out he had 8-inch hands. My hands are bigger. But he went later. So now the Chargers took Joe Alt in the first round. He was the first tackle off the board. This past weekend, it put him up against Max Crosby. Everyone, he's a good defensive end for the Raiders, no doubt. Good size, great size, honestly, for a 4'3" defensive end. I like my 4'3" defensive ends big. But long story short, the Chargers switched Alt to right tackle because they already had Rashawn Slater from Northwestern at left tackle. So they move him over to right tackle, and he just stonewalls Max Crosby the entire game. Shut him down. Max Crosby had zero pressures. Zero. Chargers rushed for 176 rushing yards also. What happened to being too big to play a position? That's comical. Especially it's comical when it's coming from dudes who never even played the sport. If you like, sub and subscribe, it doesn't cost a dime. So, and people, he was the first offensive tackle taken, and people were ragging on him, saying he's too stiff, he can't sink his hips, but he shut down Max Crosby. You can all go back to this past April, and you can see my draft rankings. I had him as my number 1 rated offensive tackle. it's just ironic that year after year you hear these dudes that I think they just like to hear themselves talk, to be honest with you. And a lot of them, the majority of them, never played nothing besides Madden. You know, Madden. I mean, my era was Tecmo Bowl. I'm very old, and then they come on shows, and half of them only got on shows because of people they know or their daddies or whatever, and they badmouth people. They say he doesn't have this, doesn't have that, doesn't have this, doesn't have that. It's like when a really beautiful girl walks by on the corner and the three other girls that ain't so good looking, or they just start yapping, bad mouth, and they're trying to tear it down. And unfortunately, that's what happens in trying to scout players. Do we have people have a tendency to nitpick? Absolutely. But these are half. This is like I said. This is a draft. Am I a Dallas fan? Yes. This is a college draft channel, so I've spoke about all before. I did watch them play for numerous years, and I saw a very, very large athletic kid. And like I said, when you go from QB to tight end and you grow into the tackle, plus he has his dad's genes in him. And if you don't think that means a lot, bro, I'm telling you, how many times we do see former players in the NFL, their sons getting drafted. How ironically, Marvin Harrison, look at him. Frank Gore's on a team. Genetics is big. Genetics is huge. You ain't beating genetics. You either got it or you don't. You can get in the gym and do hard work and bust your ass, excuse my language, and, train as hard as you want. You still ain't beating genetics. You're not. You can compete against it, but so long story short, he's 6'8", 320, flexible, hip. He can sink his hips. He has arms that goes down to his ankles. And like I said, I've been doing this draft stuff since I was really legit. I'm mid-50s, and I've been doing this draft stuff since I was 10, ranking people. And it's just something I did. And I'm just a football fanatic, period. So getting years ago, it would be called getting around him is a $30 cab ride. That was the phrase 40 years ago. I guess the phrase now would be, oh, getting around him is a $30 Uber or Lyft ride. I guess that would be called. But when you have a kid that size, that lean, that athletic, and long hands, he's gonna negate a lot of people. And he's a guy to watch out for. And listen, it's simple to say, oh, but you had him as your number one tackle. There was a lot of people that didn't. And the videos are on YouTube. There was a lot of people bad mouthing him, saying he's too stiff. He can't sink his hips. How ironic. But also too, we have to give credit to the San Diego Chargers offensive line coach and organization for developing people. He could have went to another team and they could have wasted him. Maybe they could have threw him at a left tackle and he would have had a little bit more issues. And doesn't that theory? One more thing why I call myself the O line guru is how many times do people say, "Oh, it's like a next to impossible to switch positions"? This kid played left tackle in college, and now all of a sudden he's playing right tackle in the pros. Granted, then later, but it's not as hard as everyone thinks it is. And the guys that say it's that hard never played offensive line. My everyone is different. My personal opinion is I think it's harder switching up from defense, left defensive end to right defensive end, left defensive tackle to right defensive tackle. I think it's harder. I found that to be harder in my life. But granted, I was nowhere near the athlete, nowhere near nothing that these guys are. But me personally, I found that harder because you're coming off different angles, and your moves are different now. Well, as a defensive lineman, you should have a repertoire of at least 3 to 4, 5 moves to keep your offensive lineman in front of you guessing. And you should also have that as an offensive lineman too. So now when the guy's popping off the ball, he doesn't know what to expect. But I just wanted to throw this short video out on Joe Walt to prove all these so-called offensive line guru when like really all they do is play Madden and don't watch college football. This is a college football channel. I might be a Dallas fan, but this is a college football and this is a draft channel. So I can talk about people that I've ranked. You know what I'm trying to say? We all know when you're rocking with the GWO, it's for life. Over and out, everybody.